Well, this is a big fight in its own right. Roy Francis, the very experienced official who handled the Mike Tyson fight recently in Manchester.
I've spoken to both of you in the dressing room. You both know what's expected of you. So shake hands. Shake hands. Have a good one.
So what a night this is for Steve Robinson. Can he get it right? This would be a big win against this Juan Carlos Ramirez, who on one card was actually beating the former WBC featherweight champion Luisito Espinosa when they met. It ended on a cut after 11 rounds. One of the judges had Ramirez ahead. He gave Eric Morales trouble as well for 9 rounds before getting stopped. Tall, rangy puncher Ramirez from the outside. Not with a good knockout record, but hurtful. The solid black trunks of Steve Robinson, who's on the far side as you look at them. The Welshman from the Ely area, the tough Ely area of Cardiff. Robinson known usually for his body punching and pressure. Ramirez, who's been doing his training, the later stages of it anyway, up at Glyn Rhodes gym in Sheffield, and they were all mightily impressed with him, Glenn.
Yes, well, I think if you look at his record, it is impressive. You know, he's still young, just 22. Been in with good fighters, equipped himself well, and all reports are that he really is a handful. But Robinson, you know, he's got so much to prove. He's so dedicated. He wants to get a world title again so much. So you know, you can never really write him off.
Yes, the fire is definitely still there with Steve Robinson. What can he make of El Ranchero? Good elusive skills on the ropes there by Ramirez. It just seems to be having a look at Robinson early on here, not doing very much. And Robinson, by his own standards, maybe a little tentative himself. He was a bit flat last time, Steve Robinson, defending the European title in a dull fight with John Joe Irwin. The styles didn't mix that night. Wasn't really Robinson's fault. Irwin was a bit negative, in all honesty.
Well, I think it is important for Robinson, you know, not just to win the fight, but he needs to look good, you know, for his market value. And I think that's what's important here, and I think that's why they had to go with a tough quality fighter.
Robinson all the time trying to cut off the ring, get an opportunity to unload with those body shots of his. The Mexican with the silver trimmings on the trunks gets in with a good left hand. He does have this reach advantage. Not that he's used it so far. Looks tentative, really, doesn't he, for a Mexican early on here? Ramirez.
He's really having a good long look at Steve Robinson. Steve Robinson looks confident, coming forward, looking to get his jab working, but Ramirez just skirting the ring, hands held high, but not really doing anything.
I suppose there has to be the little question mark too with Ramirez. How much did fighting Morales take out of him in having to absorb those shots? Robinson's made the more positive start. He will have won the opening round, on my card anyway. Opening impressions, Glenn?
Well, a little strange, the style of Ramirez, the fact that he's so negative. You know, he was having a good look at Robinson, and you know, seemed a little fazed by him. I shouldn't think he will be when he's been in the ring with Luisito Espinosa and Eric Morales, but you know, he did seem a little fazed.
Ramirez landing only 2 punches, according to our computer stats, in that opening round. He didn't do much at all. Robinson, who was world champion, the Cinderella man they called him, remember, between 1993 and 1995.
Well, Robinson just pushing Ramirez on the back foot, and you know, Ramirez good, trying to get through with the uppercut and the left hook, but Robinson has a good defense, keeps those hands up nice and tight, but not a lot of punches landed in the first round.
Second round, it seems to me surely only a matter of time before Ramirez does start to open up a little. You'd think so anyway. Robinson himself may be a little wary about just getting caught on the way in by a man who outreaches him. Ramirez is impressed with his fire in previous fights. He was caught by that left hand by Robinson as the glove dropped. Watch the use of the shoulder, says Roy Francis to Ramirez.
Well, Ramirez long and rangy, but he's fighting very much out of a crouch and bending those knees, so he's losing that height. At the moment, just looking to try and catch Robinson with a counter punch as Robinson comes in.
I think one of the things that maybe Ramirez will be just a little concerned about is that he's operated predominantly as a super bantamweight, and he's in with a big feather here.
Well, that could be the difference. Also, Robinson very, very strong for a featherweight. You know, tremendously well conditioned, beautifully prepared, and you know he is very, very strong man.
Almost a reconnaissance mission by both men so far. Hasn't caught fire as yet. But that could change almost in an instant. Still the greater work rate from Steve Robinson. He's never really been found wanting in that department right the way through his career.
Robinson landing some decent left hooks, but just got to be wary on the way in.
Well, Ramirez needs to get a little more positive. It's very early, but he can't afford to let rounds just slip away. They have to be made up at some point or another later in the contest.
Well, it's still good attacking work from Robinson.
In a moment, just a reminder, if you have ordered this special event on Sky Box Office and are experiencing any difficulty seeing our coverage, ring this number, please, 0990 800 888. That's 0990 800 888.
So Olympia, 10,000 fans in here tonight. It's been a sellout, this fight. There'll be a few celebrities, we're told, including the Rolling Stones and Puff Daddy. You'll know him, of course, Glenn.
Very well. He's off in the right place. Well, this is good attacking work from Robinson, just closing the distance down. You know, he likes to be close, likes to try and work to the body. But Ramirez, curiously, just not waking up, not starting to do his work.
Di Gardner there, the top man in the corner with Steve Robinson, who had Ronnie Rush, of course, in his days when he was world champion. Here's the third round. Steve Robinson of Wales, looking to recapture former glories in the solid black trunks, the silver trimmings of the Mexican Juan Carlos Ramirez, the 22-year-old from Ciudad Juarez in Mexico, on the border on the Rio Grande, where his family watched the so-called wetbacks trying to swim as illegal immigrants to the United States overnight.
He landed a good uppercut there, Ramirez. I think that just hurt Robinson for a second.
He's just beginning to do some work now, Ramirez. Some decent body shots, plus that uppercut Glenn mentioned. Seems to us sometimes that there's hardly such thing as a bad fighter at these lower weights from Mexico. sure there are a few, but we never seem to see them, do we?
Well, the ones that we see are that, you know, it's so hard to get through to the top rank. You've got to be good. So the ones we see are always pretty good. And he's letting a few more punches go now. Ramirez trying to bring the hands down, whipping in some hooks around the sides of Robinson's body.
Better from Ramirez in this round. Can he put Robinson onto the back foot? That might make things a little bit uncomfortable for the Welshman, who's much happier coming forward and hunting his man down. Has Ramirez actually realized that as yet, I wonder? He's beginning to dig in these body shots. Best so far from the Mexican, who started, by the way, tonight as a 13-8 against shot with the bookmakers. Looked like an even money fight to me beforehand, I must say.
Certainly did. And Ramirez realizing he's got to try and bring the hands down of Robinson. Robinson has a good tight defense, keeps those hands really tucked in, and Ramirez has got to bring them down, so he's trying to whip in some body punches.
Bags of respect, mutual respect between these two, you sense. And there should be too. Winner of this will almost certainly get some kind of world title shot, you'd think, down the road. And maybe that was Ramirez's round. Meanwhile, Prince Nassim Hamed is on his way from the Four Seasons Hotel. He's with the American rap star Puff Daddy. There he is, Glenn. You'd know him straight away.
Yeah, I knew who he was. Of course I did.
What's he doing with Nas, then, I wonder?
Well, he is a fight fan, and I'm sure he's a fight fan of Nas. I know he's big friends with Lennox as well.
He hasn't looked short of confidence all week. Well, all his life, really.
No, he's not very shy and reserved at the best of times.
But I must say, he is a different and more mellow character these days. I saw him earlier on my way into the arena. He was just coming out having practiced his ring entrance tonight. He was in a great mood. Grabbed my mobile phone, started talking to my son. Here's the fourth round. Solid black trunks, remember, of Steve Robinson, the former WBO featherweight champion from Wales. Juan Carlos Ramirez, the Mexican who's had 2 world title fights himself in the very top division, including one against Eric Morales. Came in as a late substitute. I think he had about 12 days notice of that fight, he was telling us. And he did very well, didn't he, against Morales too?
Yes, he did do well. And Morales was very tight in that fight. Took a great effort from Morales. Well, it's just starting to come open a little bit. They're both starting to let more punches go. It hasn't really developed into, you know, the fight that it will be, I think. But, you know, Ramirez starting to let better shots go.
Chopping little right hand. Previously in his career, Ramirez has looked the fiery sort, though they were saying in the gym in Sheffield he looked like he could box a bit as well.
Well, he's trying to pick his punches a little bit here. He knows what he's trying to do. He's trying to bring those hands down. It's tough to get past the defense of Robinson, so he's just changing the style, going to head, going to body, just trying to do something to get that defense down.
Standing his ground a little more, though, now Ramirez, and occasionally forcing Robinson onto the back foot. And that could be important tactically, Glenn.
Well, he's got to try and do something differently. Robinson's good when he comes forward.
Looks very strong and eager too. He is really the original hungry fighter. He hasn't made much money out of this business so far. Has to sell vegetables outside his house. It's a different world, isn't it?
It certainly is. That's why the fighters are so good.
It's getting harder for Steve Robinson in there. There's the uppercut again. He likes that shot, Ramirez.
And Robinson just falling short with his punches. He needs to be a step closer to Ramirez to land with those blows.
It does have to be the question with Steve Robinson, how much longer can we realistically expect him to stay around the top level? He's been there now for 7 years. Not a lot in that round, was there, Glenn?
No, I'd have to score that on a level round. Both of them had their successes. Robinson was falling short a little bit with his punches, and Ramirez started quite well at the beginning. It was a difficult one. I would have to go with it at level.
So let's go over to Adam Smith, who's got some guests with him.
Nicky, how are you reading this?
Well, Robinson certainly won the first 3 rounds and maybe half the last one. He's boxing very intelligently. He's just doing enough to win the rounds without extending too much, using too much energy. You know, I think it's a very clever fight by Steve Robinson.
What can we expect from Ramirez, Spencer, now?
I'd just like to see him pick it up a little bit more. He's just throwing the single uppercuts at the moment. He's letting Steve Robinson lead off first. He's got to start taking initiative himself a little bit and just start trying to pick up the pace a little bit more. The fight really hasn't caught light yet, but Steve Robinson on my card, 3 rounds up and 1 even.
Thanks very much, guys.
So just part of the whole galaxy of guests we've got for you tonight. Opinions from everywhere. They make the world go round, and we've got a little delay here now. There's too much grease on the face of Steve Robinson. Roy Francis not happy about that. Now they can get going again. 5th round, due to go 12. It's an intercontinental title which is actually at stake here, but in reality it's much, much more than that, Glenn.
Yes, it is. It's a very important fight, you know, in the featherweight division, and you know, really, it's a make or break fight for Steve Robinson. He really needs to perform well. Everything's on the line for him.
Ramirez, like Robinson, seems to favor the body shots. Again, just giving ground though, Robinson, and that's not his game.
No, that maybe just shows a signal that, you know, Ramirez is pretty strong.
A couple of good headshots there from Robinson, though. He looks very, very strong, doesn't he, Ramirez? Solid.
Yeah. Yes, he does. And when he, you know, they're good punches when he tries to whip those hooks around the body. And physically strong, although he, you know, he's not a big puncher.
Watch the use of the heads. Probably heard of that from Roy Francis, who's having to retire this year, which seems a great shame because he's such a good referee. It's the age rule, I'm afraid. Definitely been a strategic change in this fight over the last couple of rounds. Ramirez starting to do things more his own way. And this looks like it could develop into pretty hard work for Steve Robinson.
Well, he's having to think about it all a little bit more now, Robinson. And more punches coming from Ramirez. He's starting to liven up, find his rhythm a bit more.
Body shot again was low this time. Keep them up. No respite, though, for Robinson. He could have made more of that had he wanted to, but he's not the kind to.
A little bit of roughhouse tactics coming in, I feel, from Ramirez. Just trying to rough Robinson up a bit. Also being warned for using his head a little bit.
Yeah, he might live on the border, but he throws in the occasional one a long way south of it. Well, that's Ramirez's round to me. Let's have a look at the world featherweight scene at the moment. As you know, Prince Nassim Hamed making his 14th defence tonight, the WBO champion. Paul Ingle, who's with us, holds the IBF title, defends it at Madison Square Garden on the Lennox Lewis bill. Freddie Norwood, the WBA champion, has beaten Boyani Bungu in the past. WBC title vacant at the moment. Steve Robinson in action here is the European champion. Scotland's Scott Harrison with the Commonwealth title, and the British title is currently vacant. But we've got half of the 4 really recognised world champions at this weight at the moment.
That's it. The British doing very well in the featherweight division. This is maybe just the infringement, just a bit of a low blow there. That was south of the border.
Yes, he lives in Ciudad Juarez on the border. That was Mexico City, that one, wasn't it? Here's round 6. Just looking a little flat to me, Steve Robinson, by his usual standards. What do you think, Glenn?
Yes, he is, but he also did in his last fight against John João, and he didn't really come alive in that one. And you know, he does need to start taking the fight to Ramirez and start, you know, showing some sort of dominance. On my count, I've got it dead level at this point, so I think Ramirez is still doing all right.
It's good exchange here. Both of them looking to up the tempo, maybe try to take control of things. But neither prepared to really give ground. It was an even Steven kind of exchange. Who's going to be the first to crack?
Well, just slowly and slowly, Ramirez is getting Robinson more and more on the back foot. And Robinson at times looking a little bit uncomfortable when some of these body shots are going in.
I should think Steve Robinson was really that happy when they told him he'd have to fight this fellow. When you're already the WBO #1, what do you really want to be fighting a Mexican like this? Ramirez wanted to hold on for a moment there. He's caught with a little left hand before that. I wonder if that hurt him more than we realized.
Well, you often can't really gauge how hard a punch is and how hard it connects with. And obviously, you know, if you're looking to hold the fight, obviously the punch obviously did something.
It's a little bit mysterious, but maybe a sign of encouragement for Robinson there. Again, the referee warns them about the heads, which are coming dangerously close together. That's well done by Robinson.
Well, they do. When they both go to throw a shot, they both really bang that front foot down and lunge forward, and they dip their head, so you know, a head clash could always happen here.
Just a nice little left uppercut this time from Ramirez, who doesn't look silky smooth or wonderfully skillful or awesome or anything like that, but what he is very strong and willing, fiery and game. Robinson will have to be good to tame him, won't he?
He will. It's that rugged strength. Again, another little warning for Ramirez. He's still trying to rough him up a little bit. Decent punches there for Steve Robinson, leaping in with that left hook.
It's a better round for Robinson, that one, I thought. This just one of an excellent series of fights we have for you tonight. Next in the ring, or coming up pretty soon anyway, Shea Neary in what we expect to be an explosive affair with Mickey Ward. There is Shea. Now, you think he looks very tight at the weight, very sunken-cheeked, isn't he?
Yes, he is. I think it'd be interesting to see what weight he was now, because them cheeks have filled out a little bit since yesterday.
It will be the next fight in the ring, and I tell you, every boxing fan in Britain is looking forward to this, because like Neary, this Mickey Ward, who comes from the Boston area of the United States, never takes a backward step hardly, and has very hurtful power to the body. That could be one of the fights of the year in this country, and that's not over, Sal. At least I hope it's not anyway.
Well, it is set to be something of a thriller. Good clash of styles.
Back to this one, which so far has not been in the exciting category, just absorbing. 7th round. certainly a fight of significance as well. It means something, and that gives it an interest all of its own too. Steve Robinson with his back to you, the Welshman. Good right hand from Ramirez, landing to the side of Robinson's head.
Well, he's not a big puncher, Ramirez, but certainly when you see that his punches go in, they look hard.
Robinson, remember, who used to be a 52 pounds a week storeman at Debenhams in Cardiff. Lost 6 of his first 11 fights, and yet remarkably turned his career around to become a world champion. Tremendous achievement from him, and the type of career to offer hope to every struggling fighter. But can he sustain it? That's the question now. Good shots from Ramirez there, combination to the head.
Well, he's warming up, Ramirez, trying to look hungry, looking to take the fight to Robinson, pushing him back.
It's becoming a grueling battle of body punches, this.
Well, the heads are constantly rubbing together, constantly banging in there. You will not be surprised if somebody gets cut here.
Good work from Robinson to the body. Trademark shot, the left hook to the body from him. It's pretty close, this, isn't it, so far?
Yes, I think it's pretty close. Nobody really has got the upper hand. I mean, Ramirez is starting to get a little bit more of a swagger about his work, pushing forward more and more.
He's definitely there to be won in the second half of the fight, this. Coming up to the last half minute of round 7.
And I think Ramirez has done the better work in this round, managing to keep Robinson on the back foot.
Pulled off breaks as Roy Francis. He actually physically pulled Ramirez away there.
Well, he is having his work cut out a little bit with Ramirez. Ramirez not really obeying his commands as Roy Francis likes.
Not sure he understands them all. There's another low blow from Ramirez in there. He's a rough old handful.
Well, he really is. He's very, very rugged, Ramirez, isn't he? And he's got to be careful in there, because Roy Francis will not stand for too much of the sort of thing he's doing.
Now look at this piece of refereeing coming up here from Roy Francis. Talk about no nonsense. He looks like he wants to have a fight himself in there. Look at this.
Well, it wasn't that bad when he was having a fight. He could handle himself, Roy.
Well, he had a memorable win in an England-USA international, Roy Francis, in his fighting days. Great stuff. And he's reading the riot act now to Ramirez. I'm not sure Ramirez really understands. He's saying watch the use of the head.
I think he gets the general drift. I think he knows what he's doing.
It's a universal sign language, that, isn't it? There's the check on the corner men. Glyn Rhodes actually working in the corner, helping out. It's his gym that they've been using up in Sheffield. Here's the 8th round of this one. I have Ramirez 1 point ahead at this stage. How about you, Glenn?
I've got a dead level. I think I've pulled them both together. It is difficult to find a win. Nobody really gained control here.
Robinson may feel, being the home fighter, that he's the one who could possibly just get the nod from the judges if it was to be tight. But you can never count on that. All out of range. Stop boxing. Now he's taking Ramirez back to his corner. Ramirez says, what's this about? Do you know, Glenn?
I have no idea. I have no idea what that was about.
I think it might have been to do with coaching from the corner. Impossible to tell. Give up.
Well, he took him to the corner and then quickly brought him back, so a little bit of a mystery there.
Remains very finely balanced, this.
Oh, good punches pulled together there from Ramirez. Not doing a great deal, Robinson, just slowed down a bit.
Faster hands, definitely, Ramirez. Looser kind of style, isn't it?
It's a very awkward style, you know. He doesn't really do anything by the textbook, and I think, you know, always be a difficult fighter to face.
Comes in very square on, even just switching stance for a moment there. Thought about doing it anyway, and then goes back to orthodox. It's giving Robinson plenty of problems in this round, just picking him up a little bit at range.
Well, he's picking his shots quite well. He's changing, you know, he's leading with right hand, leading with hooks. You know, doing all the things that you don't normally do, but he's getting away with it.
Get out of there, get out of there. Out of there.
Robinson needing to do more. That's a good left hand to the body too from Ramirez. He's having a pretty big round here now. I don't think Robinson's hurt or anything like that yet, but he's having to take plenty in this session.
Well, this is the best Ramirez has been. This roughhouse tactics is starting to work. He's landing some good punches in there as well. And Robinson very much on the defensive now, not being able to concentrate on what he wants to do himself.
I think Ramirez is beginning to think he's away from home here, though, because the referee's been doing a lot of talking to him and very little to Robinson. Well, I don't know. I think Ramirez is just opening up a little lead myself at this stage. But who's to say? We've got the same judges scoring this as with the Nassim Hamed fight, except Dave Paris replacing Roy Francis, who obviously can't judge because he's the ref here.
Well, for me, that was Ramirez's round, just roughing Robinson up. And Robinson needs to start working to his game plan. What's he got to do to stop Ramirez coming forward? He's got to try something different, a bit more work we need to see from Steve Robinson.
4 rounds to go here, and the destiny of Steve Robinson's phase 2 career, if I can put it that way, may well ride on what happens over these 4 rounds. He just can't afford to lose this. If he does lose it, he'll lose his status as the WBO's #1 contender for Nassim Hamed's crown. I mean, from his management's point of view, you'd have to ask, I mean, why does it make sense to match him with somebody like this when he's already the WBO #1?
Well, I think what they're trying to do is get American TV interested. And, you know, really, he needs a high-profile win. He needs to look good against somebody that can fight. So, unfortunately, you know, he's got to go in with this tough guy from Mexico.
And if you were his manager, would you say yes to that?
Nope.
No, nor would I.
Nope.
They've given him a very, very hard job here, basically, to try to stay where he actually already is.
Well, he's never had it easy in his career, Steve Robinson. He's always had to do everything the hard way.
Well, even when he lost to Nassim Hamed and lost his world title, he had a lot of distractions around that time. There were money rows, and of course, it was around the time of his honeymoon, which didn't help too much either anyway. He's trying here the usual tactics of trying to pressure Ramirez, but Ramirez is not the kind to hang around on the ropes and let Robinson pummel away to the body.
Robinson trying to get the jab working, but it's falling short with too many punches. Robinson needs to start stepping through with them. He's missed an awful lot.
The Mexican who grew up in the cardboard shack is looking a rough handful. It's still close-ish, this fight. At the moment, though, just a feeling that things might be beginning to tilt Ramirez's way.
Well, very difficult for Robinson to really get to Ramirez. Ramirez, that head very low, resting on the chest of Robinson. Robinson can't get any leverage to land any punches.
Just looking a little swollen underneath the eyes, Robinson, too. Locked together in a grueling battle now, these two. Who will prevail? It's just the more eye-catching punches, maybe, from Ramirez. They're a bit flashier. They may be taking the eye of the judges. Not much in that round. Let's get an alternative view of things now from the IBF featherweight champion from Scarborough, Paul Ingle, who's with Adam.
Thanks, Ian. Well, Paul, it's very, very finely balanced, isn't it? How have you got it?
At the moment, I'd say Ramirez has just gone one up there. I had it level last round. Ramirez, I'd say, just won the last round. I put him one in front, Ramirez.
Ramirez is boxing a very difficult fight for Robinson. What does Steve have to do now in the closing rounds?
I think Steve's got to up his tempo a bit more and start putting a lot more pressure on. I mean, he's doing one pace and just, one thing all the time instead of like changing his gears and just going up a gear and put Ramirez on his back foot. At the moment, Ramirez is standing on him and counter-punching him, and he's winning the round.
You've just got to pressure him. Can he do it?
Yeah, if he keeps on going and ups the gears, I'm sure he can, pull around back. I hope he does.
Thanks a lot, Paul.
Cheers.
Thanks very much indeed, Paul Ingle. Good luck to him when he defends his title on April the 29th at Madison Square Garden. Steve Robinson, is he just behind here? There's a feeling among most people at ringside that he is, but how have the judges got it?
Well, Ramirez still strong, still confident, and really the key for him has been keeping Robinson on the back foot.
I'm sure too the Ramirez corner will be thinking, we've got to make sure of this because we're on away territory here.
Well, they're bound to realize that, and also the referee, Roy Francis, has talked to Ramirez a lot and took the eye, off him a bit.
It's all about heart and desire in there now, and I don't think these two are short in either of those departments.
Well, the styles just quite haven't gelled because of, I think, more Ramirez's awkward sort of style. He's a very difficult person to fight. Leads with hooks, all sorts of strange ways he throws his punches.
That's a good body shot there from Ramirez. The left hand, it looks sharp. This would have been a lot tougher than many of the world title fights, I think, that Steve Robinson had. And he made 7 defenses of the title, beating the likes of Paul Hodkinson, Duke McKenzie and Colin McMillan during his reign. He constantly upset the odds.
Well, they're both trying to find a bit of room, but too much pushing and shoving.
He's been a busy man in there, Roy Francis. Much harder work for him than those 2 rounds of Tyson with Julius Francis.
Well, Robinson's trying to get his hands free, trying to work inside, find some room, but it's difficult. They can't get the room. They're crowding their own work, and it's very much a physical sort of battle in there.
Pretty messy round, this one so far. Both beginning to look tired. A draining sort of battle with all these body shots landing. Last few seconds of this, the 10th round. 2 rounds to go after this. Robinson complaining about something in that exchange as the bell goes to end the round. Next up, this is one of the men you'll be seeing, Mickey Ward, who they say has a paralyzing left hook to the body. coming off a win over the world-class Reggie Green when he turned the fight around in the very final round. They said it was one of the fights of the year in the United States. He's a man who always comes to have a ferocious argument with you. It's a terrific fight against one of the most exciting fighters in Britain, in Liverpool's Shane Neary. Here's what the computer is saying in this one so far, that Robinson has landed 8 more punches and had a slightly better economy rate so far, having actually thrown less. '11th round. How have you got it, Glenn?
I've got a level again. I give Robinson the last round just to pull them even, and still it's just been like that throughout the fight. One has won a couple of rounds, then the other a couple of rounds, and neither one throughout this fight has really took over.
I've still got it Ramirez by 1, but it's not something I'd give you a long argument about. Might well depend on these final 2 rounds. Who can finish the stronger here? In this opening big fight of this Prince Naseem Hamed evening in the capital. Good right over the top by Ramirez. Right hand again. Might it even be a draw?
Well, it's very close at this point. Still, it's difficult controlling the fight for Roy Francis. Two very, very physical. Neither one giving each other much room to let their punches go.
Oh, it's a good left hook there from Robinson, but it just bounced off Ramirez, who now piles in with body shots. He looks a bit hurt, Robinson, here. His legs are going. Ramirez here, pummeling in the shots, and Steve Robinson looking down the barrel and floored. A whole volley of shots, and that might be the key incident in the whole fight. He's not going to make it, Steve Robinson. He's all over the place. Roy Francis tries to give him every chance and says no. It is stopped in the 11th round. Steve Robinson's world comes crashing down, and Juan Carlos Ramirez has prevailed here. Something had to give, and in the end, I'm afraid, for poor Steve Robinson, it was him. It was a left hook to the head that started all the trouble over on those far ropes from us. And Steve Robinson, he's never going to get that chance to regain his title, I fear now.
Well, that's such a shame for Steve Robinson that would happen. It was a cracking left hook from Ramirez, really just pushed him up against the ropes. His head comes up, and then he found the punch that mattered, and there it is. What a punch it was as well. Just had him on the back foot. Robinson looks up for a second, and a big left hook, and Robinson could never recover. He's trying to grab hold, trying everything he can, but it's just constant pressure from Ramirez, just not letting him off the hook. And a lot more punches, really start finding them. When he needed to find them, he got them in. A big left uppercut to finish it off.
It's only the second time in 11 years and 46 fights that Steve Robinson has been stopped. The only other man to do it, of course, was Prince Naseem Hamed.
Well, he was never really going to recover. He was very hurt. I think that the first left hook took everything out of him, and he tried desperately to cover up, but Ramirez, he knew Robinson was in trouble. He was not going to let him off the hook.
And I repeat again, if I was Steve Robinson's management, I'd have thought very long and hard before accepting that particular fight, and it's backfired on him. Juan Carlos Ramirez gets the nod.
Ladies and gentlemen, following the knockdown, your referee, Roy Francis, has to call a halt to the bout. The official time, 1 minute, 53 seconds of round number 11. The winner by TKO victory and new WBO Intercontinental Featherweight Champion, Carlos El Ranchero Ramirez. And a round of applause, please, for the former champion,
Juan
the pride
Carlos
of
Ramirez
Cardiff, Steve Robinson.
now will go on, I'm sure, to get another World Championship chance. Where does Steve Robinson go from there, though?